September 27th, we're doing a special program here in Minnesota on one of the important, but we don't talk about it so much, aspects of the Caux Round Table work, which is about government. I think the first idea is, and people from Adam Smith on down who believe in markets and capitalism and private decision making also say you've got to have a government structure of law and courts to mediate disputes, to approve contracts, to set the boundary lines on the playing field, so no crime, no cheating, no fraud, no misrepresentation, things like that. So you can't really talk about free markets and capitalism the way some purists or fundamentalists do and ignore government. This also became true in some of our roundtable discussions of a number of years ago when people looked at using business and capital to create jobs in poor nations. This was before the United Nations effort really on sustainable development. But the idea was that if you bring business to a poor nation in Africa or Latin America or Asia, you get the results that the Chinese got and the Indians got in the 2000s of taking millions of people out of poverty. But why would a foreign company, an American company or some other company, want to go to a country at war with massive corruption, a police force that bullies you and steals money? Why would you want to do that? If you had a choice, you wouldn't. So if you believe in the Caux Round Table principles of a moral capitalism, of business, it's supposed to operate in an honorable, ethical, and constructive way, how can you have that kind of capitalism under a bad, corrupt, dictatorial, brutal regime, doesn't respect human rights, steals money, etc.? Well, you can't. So we need to have some ideas, some ethical standards, some moral standards for government, in addition to just normal human rights. Like I would think like human rights sort of goes from the government level down to the people. What are the standards that operate at the government level for government officials? We think there is a standard. It's called the concept of a public trust, which has a particular origin in the Anglo-American constitutional tradition, going back to John Locke and then the American Declaration of Independence, the American Constitution. But if you look at the notion of a trust, of stewardship, of being responsible for power and assets in order to help other people, then you have support for public trust in the Quran, which talks about human beings being a Khalifa, or a just successor to God in taking care of his creation, holding an amana, which means trust. You have this in the Jewish tradition, in the Christian tradition, in many wisdom traditions, native peoples, for example. Who do you pick for your chief? Somebody you trust, or somebody who's going to be a bully and a kind of a thug? Most communities, they pick somebody who is respected because he or she can be trusted. Buddhism has a standard of the Noble Eightfold Way, which talks about really the personal character that a good trustee has. Well, as you also know, politics in America is in an unhappy spot, and a lot of people are wondering, who does our government serve? Does it serve the people? Does it serve the elite? Does it serve the right? Does it serve the left? Is it for the general good? So we want to present to people in Minnesota who are seeking public office this idea that public office is a public trust. If you get elected to be governor, to be a mayor, to be city council, county commissioner, school board, you have a moral obligation to be a trustee, to be a steward, which means a duty of loyalty to the people and a duty of due care to think carefully about what you're going to do for the common good.